So here we're going to look at 3D shapes, and in particular the terminology that we use. So when we talk about terminology, we just mean the particular language that we use when we're talking about 3D shapes. In particular, we're going to look at faces, vertices, and edges. So we're going to look at what they are with respect to some of the shapes that we need to know. So to do that, we're going to use some of the slides that I have pinched from my last school. So thanks to them for doing the work here. So here we've got a cube. Okay, we can see the outline of our cube there. And so first thing we look at is we're going to look at the faces of the cube. And so faces of our 3D shapes are all these little 2D shapes that make it up, that are stuck together, that are joined together somehow. So here in the front we can see that that face is in the shape of a square. And in fact, because it's a cube and all the sides should be the same length, all of those 2D shapes, all the bits on it, each face is a square. Okay, so if we were to look at the one that's on the top, what shape would that be? It would be a square. If we were to look at the one that was at the back, it should be a square. The one on the bottom should be a square. They should all be squares. Okay, the edges are the straight lines. So they're the outlines of these 2D shapes. Okay, so when I'm looking at the shape that's there, anything that looks like a line, that gets to count as an edge. And all of the cornery bits. Okay, each of the corner bits are called vertices, or a vertex. So vertex singular, vertices plural. Okay, so looking at my shape then, how many faces does it have? So there should be 6. So there's one at the front, one at the back, one at the left, one at the right, one on top, and one at the bottom. How many vertices does it have? How many cornery bits does it have? Well, there's one in the bottom right, one in the top right, one in the top left, one at the bottom left, if we look at the front of the shape, and then at the back we've got the same again. So there should be 8 vertices there. And then how many edges are there? Well, there are 12 edges. So to get that, all we need to do is we just need to count the lines that make up that shape. Okay, looking at the cuboid next. It's a similar shape, only this time some of its faces are rectangles. So here its faces are squares or rectangles. So at the front and the back we've got a rectangle, on the top and the bottom we've got a rectangle, but at either side, at the left and the right, they are squares. Okay, but it still has 6 faces. How many vertices does it have? It still has 8. It still has 8 cornery bits, and it still has 12 edges. Okay, so the lines that make up those shapes. So looking at square-based pyramid this time. So one face is a square, so the bit at the bottom is a square, and the clue is in the name. There's a square-based square on the bottom. So that bit there is in the shape of a square, and to make up the pyramid, the other faces that are there are triangular. Okay, so the 4 other faces. So there's one at the front, one at the back, one at the left, and one at the right. So how many faces does it have? Well, it's made up of 4 triangular faces standing up, 1 square face in the bottom. That's 5 altogether. How many vertices does it have? Well, there's a corner in each of the bottom bits, and there's 1 at the top. So we've got 5 overall. How many edges do we have? Well, we've got 8. Okay, so we just need to count the lines that are there. If we look at a triangular-based pyramid, or tetrahedron, as it's sometimes called, we want to look at the same thing. So how can we work out what's there? So this time there's a triangular-based pyramid, so there's a triangle at the bottom, so the bottom face is a triangle. What else is it made up of? Well, now there are 3 more triangle faces standing up the way to make the pyramid shape. Okay, so depending on how you look at it, it's either coming out the page at you or it's kind of going back into the page, but it's just an optical illusion. So how many faces are there? Well, there's 1 at the bottom and 3 standing up, so there are 4 altogether. How many vertices are there? Well, there's 1 in each corner on the bottom and 1 at the top, so that's 4 altogether. And how many edges are there? Well, if we count up the edges, we get 6. And finally, for our examples that we're going to look at to get ourselves started, we have this triangular prism. So what faces do we have this time? Well, here, each of the end faces are triangles. So there's one at the front and there's one at the very back. What else is our prism made up of? Well, these ones here are rectangles. And so the faces that join them up are made out of rectangles. Okay, so we've got three faces that are rectangles. So the slopey one at the right, the slopey one at the left, and the flat one along the bottom. So when we come to have a look at this, how many faces do we have? We've got 3 rectangular and 2 triangles, so we've got 5. How many vertices do we have? Well, we've got 6 cornery bits, so we've got 6 vertices. And then how many edges do we have? We've got 9 edges. So we've got 3 in the front triangle, 3 in the back triangle, and then another 3 edges to join them